Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're jumping into the very first review out for Marvel's new film, Thunderbolts.
That's right. Just dropped in The Hollywood Reporter.
Exactly. A pretty definitive voice.
Yeah.
So our mission here is basically to pull out the key stuff from their take.
Yeah, save you some time, give you the main insights on where this might be taking the MCU.
Because the buzz is hinting at something. Well, a bit different, isn't it?
Definitely. A fresh angle, maybe. Focus on these dysfunctional outsiders, more character depths.
Intriguing. Okay, let's get into what the Hollywood Reporter's actually saying.
First thing that jumps out, really, is the title itself. Thunderbolts, but with that asterisk at the end.
Yeah, what's the deal with that? The review mentioned it.
It did. It traces the name back to Yelena Belova's childhood soccer team, Pee Wee Soccer.
Okay.
And apparently, they never won a game. Like, ever.
So a team named after perpetual losers. That's
Yeah.
a choice for a superhero team.
It is, isn't it? And the reviewer, they kind of lean into that. I think the asterisk is maybe Marvel saying, yeah, the name's got baggage, but don't count this group out.
Right, playing up the underdog angle from the start. Makes sense.
Totally. And even though we've seen some of these characters, some of the actors before, the review really emphasizes this disarming freshness and maybe more surprisingly, heart.
Hearts. Okay, that's not always the first word you associate with these big team-up movies. Where does the reviewer think that comes from?
Well, they point to the creative team. It's a new crew for Marvel, mostly.
Like who?
Director Jake Schreier, who did Beef on Netflix. Great show.
Oh, interesting choice. Very different vibe.
Right. And the writer's Eric Pearson, who did Thor, Ragnarok, and Black Widow, so he knows the MCU.
Oh, yeah.
But also Joanna Kalo, who also worked on Beef, but also The Bear, BoJack Horseman. Shows with real character focus.
So that mix, it suggests maybe they're deliberately trying to dial back the usual formula a bit?
Seems like it. The review says, you know, it doesn't totally reinvent the superhero movie, and apparently the pacing is a little uneven in spots.
Okay, so not perfect.
No, but crucially, it praises them for cutting back on the smug wisecracking.
Oh, thank goodness. Maybe.
Yeah, and instead focusing more on the characters' interior dimensions, like their emotional fragility beyond just their powers.
That does sound like a relief, especially with all the talk about, Marvel fatigue.
Exactly what the reviewer suggests, a potential shift towards character, maybe less reliance on quips and spectacle just for spectacle's sake.
But it is still an action movie, presumably. We're not talking about a quiet character drama here.
Oh, absolutely not. Plenty of action, big threats. The review is clear on that.
So what's the difference then?
It sounds like it's more about how the action unfolds. They describe as sort of back-to-basics innocence.
Like more grounded stakes.
Yeah, maybe more personal. Making the danger feel a bit more real, perhaps. Less about just, another giant CGI skybeam.
Gotcha. And right in the middle of all this, it sounds like, is Yelena Belova, Florence Pugh.
Big time. The Hollywood Reporter straight up calls her the center of the group and the film's MVP.
Wow. High praise.
It really is. And they say Pugh expands on what we saw in Black Widow, that deadpan insouciance.
Yeah, she's great at that.
But also showing more of the bruised feelings underneath. Apparently, a lot of her arc is about dealing with the emptiness after Natasha's death.
Right, that makes sense. So how does she get pulled into this whole Thunderbolts thing? What's her starting point?
Well, the review mentions she's initially on a cleanup job for Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Ah, Val, of course.
Yeah. So Yelena's in a Malaysian lab dealing with stuff related to this research company, OXE.
OXE. Okay.
And Yelena's feeling a bit lost, apparently tells Val she wants something more public-facing.
In knowing Val, I'm guessing there's a condition attached.
You bet. Val says, okay, but first, Yelena needs to destroy one last OXE facility, hidden in a mountain somewhere.
Why is Val so keen on destroying this stuff?
It seems Val's been mixed up in some shady business with experimental super serums. So shady, in fact, that Congressman Gary Wendell Pierce is leading an impeachment hearing against her.
Okay, so Val's under pressure.
Big time. And her assistant, Mel, played by Geraldine Viswanathan, is scrambling to, clean up the evidence trail.
And where does Bucky fit in? Sebastian Stan. He's a congressman now, right?
Freshman Congressman Bucky Barnes, yes. And according to the review, he's actively trying to expose Val. He sees Mel, the assistant, as maybe someone he can get information from.
Lots of political maneuvering happening alongside the super stuff.
Seems that way. It sets up this interesting tension between, established heroes and this morally gray crew.
So how do they actually become a crew? Yelena's at this mountain facility.
Right, and things go sideways. She ends up clashing with, but then sort of teaming up with, John Walker, U.S. agent.
Wyatt Russell.
Yep, who she apparently calls the dime store Captain America. And also Ava Starr, Ghost. Hannah John Kamen, Taskmaster. Olga Kurilenko even makes a brief appearance, too.
So not exactly a planned team-up, more like thrown together by circumstance.
Pretty much. And the review suggests they quickly figure out Val basically set them all up, maybe wanted them out of the picture.
Ah, the classic double cross. That'll bond people.
Exactly. That's the catalyst. And when they make their escape, they kind of scoop up this dazed lab patient named Bob Lewis Pullman.
Bob. Just Bob. Intriguing. And then some other familiar faces show up.
You got it. David Harbour's Alexei, Red Guardian. He apparently arrives in his own limo service.
Wait, really?
Yeah, the Red Guardian limo service. The review even quotes the slogan on the side, protecting you from boring evening.
Okay, that's amazing. I love that.
Sounds like classic Red Guardian. And then Bucky shows up, too, on a motorcycle during a tank chase in Utah to help out.
So the team gradually assembles through chaos. What about this Bob character, Lewis Pullman? The review hinted there's more to him.
Yeah. It tiptoes around spoilers, obviously, but it suggests comics fans might have theories about who he is and his connection to Yelena specifically.
Ah, okay. So maybe a known character identity reveal?
Potentially. But for people who don't know the comics, it's meant to be part of the movie's mystery. Pullman's performance is described as sweet-natured, broken, exploring stuff like mental instability, the fight between light and darkness. Sounds meaty.
And what was that about interconnected shame rooms? That sounds intense and maybe a bit direct.
The review kind of acknowledges that, yeah, calls it maybe a bit on the nose, a little textbook psychology.
Right.
But the idea is it's a way for the characters to confront their pasts. Yelena's assassin training, Walker's issues, trying to add depth, basically.
So confronting their demons might push them towards actually being heroes.
That seems to be the direction, yeah. Things get chaotic in New York, and it gives the Thunderbolts a chance to, rediscover the joy of heroism, as the review puts it.
A redemption arc, maybe.
Possibly. And Red Guardian gets some good lines in there, apparently. Something about no higher calling, but also a crack about Yelena's inner light being dim, even by Eastern European standards.
Ah. Okay. Harbour sounds like he's having fun. And the action itself, you mentioned it, felt different, like older movies.
Yeah, that was a really interesting point. A throwback feel to vintage Superman or Batman, more focus on, physically stopping stuff, rescuing people, dealing with collapsing things.
Less just punching CGI monsters.
Exactly. More tangible threats, characters interacting physically with the danger, not just overwhelming digital effects.
That could be really refreshing. And the look of the film. Did the review comment on the visual?
It did, quite positively. Praised the cinematographer Andrew Dros Palermo. He did A Ghost Story, The Green Knight.
Oh, wow. Those films look incredible.
Yeah.
Very distinctive.
Right, so the review mentions grit and texture in the visuals, a contrast to what it calls the bland plastic sheen you sometimes get in blockbusters.
Yeah, that generic look.
Exactly. Also mentioned good production design from Grace Yen and a nuanced score by Sunlux. So aesthetically, it sounds distinct.
So Yelena's the MVP, but it sounds like the whole team gets their moment. It's a true ensemble.
That's definitely the impression. The review stresses that while it's Pugh's movie in many ways, the whole ensemble is crucial.
How's the team dynamic described?
Yeah.
The banter.
Droll without ever trying too hard, and snippy without ever putting the team's unity in doubt. Which sounds like a tricky balance to get right.
Yeah, could easily become too snippy or too forced funny.
For sure. And, of course, there's a post-credits scene, setting up future stuff like the one Black Widow did.
Standard practice now. Any other quick notes on the supporting cast performances?
Yeah. Stan, Russell, John Kamen, Harbour, all seen as bringing something new to their roles. Louis Dreyfus is apparently leaning into the dark humor of Val's ruthlessness.
Makes sense for her.
Geraldine Viswanathan as Mel is highlighted as promising, maybe more to come from her. And Lewis Pullman as Bob is just called wonderful.
Sounds like a really strong cast overall. So, the million-dollar question. Does the reviewer think Thunderbolts is the movie to, rescue the MCU from its supposed doldrums?
They don't go quite that far. No definitive rescue declared.
Hedging their bets a bit.
A little, yeah. But the conclusion is that it at least seems a step in the direction of creative renewal. So, Cautiously optimistic, maybe.
A step in the right direction is still something. And just the practical details for anyone listening.
Right. Release date is this Friday, May 2nd. It's rated PG.